Avernus, Chapter 2, No Survivors. Outside of the USG Titus, the Marines have quarantined the surrounding areas around the ship. Checkpoints have been secured to make sure no one enters the ship. It took 4 hours of another group of Marines to extinguish the flames in the valley. Most of the ship was intact with a gaping hole in front of the quarantine site, as the front had been completely disintegrated upon impact. So has there been any further instructions from the commander? Sergeant Alexis asked Davies.
Not since the first one, which is bad news if anyone is or was still on board this ship.
Davies replies, sounding annoyed at the commander for disregarding his concerns about survivors. Well, you may not see it, but maybe there is wisdom in his orders. For all we know, we could have walked inside and there could have been either Covenant or a radiation leak or something else that could have been waiting for us inside. We could have been walking straight into our own funerals. Sergeant Alexis responds to Sergeant Davies in an empathetic way.
We should get some rest for when the commander decides to show himself,
Davies says. The two head into their tents that were being erected while quarantine and checkpoints had been set up. Alexis was 24 years of age. She had a slim figure, was blonde, and was 5 foot 8 inches tall. She joined after her home planet was glassed by the Covenant, vowing to see an end to them and their great journey. She did have a thing for both Mills and Davies. However, she remained professional while she was in duty, but had offered to buy both a drink during downtime. She was a quirky girl, but had plenty of experience with men and knew how to get what she wanted. First light of the new day had risen, and Davies was asleep dreaming of his family, mostly about his little sister, who was on Reach at the time. Her name was Chrissy. In his dreams, he was seeing memories of Reach when they were kids. However, this time, something was different. He saw a bat-like creature hovering over Chrissy's head. As it grew closer to her, the world around him grew darker, along with her screams. Those screams then turned into roars. Those two in time turned into revving, as if coming from an engine. They grew louder and louder until Davies finally woke up from his puzzling and horrific nightmare. He could hear a Warthog engine coming closer and closer. He got dressed and exited the tent, looking for the commander to find that it was a false alarm. It wasn't the commander. It was his son, Mills.
Davies, my father told me what had happened, so I came as quickly as I could. I didn't want to miss out on the fun,
Mills says in a very cocky manner.
Your father said,
Davies says, but was quickly cut off by Mills.
My father says a lot of things, Davies.
Alexis exits her tent to see what all the fuss is about. As she sees Mills and Davies having a disagreement about something, she thinks to herself, best of both worlds. She walks over to them and says, What's occurring, Sergeant Davies? Sergeant Mills? She asks both of them. Mills looks at her with a grin and says,
We're about to open those doors and find out what the big hoopla is all about.
That is still to be decided. If your father finds us to be inside when he arrives, we'll be court-martialed.
Davies responds sharply. Mills looks at Davies and says,
If he finds out, I'll say the whole thing is my idea, which it is. So you'll be in the clear, and I'll get a slap on the wrist or a few lashes.
He follows with,
I didn't take you for a scared little boy, Davies. Remember Operation Cupcake Grab?
Davies pulls a grin and says,
Yeah, it was fun.
What's Operation Cupcake? Alexis asks.
Operation Cupcake was back on Reach. We were told the most delicious cupcakes weren't for us. They were for VIPs. So Davies came up with an ingenious idea to steal them, enough for the whole bunk room.
Mills explains.
How did that go, Davies?
Mills asks.
Well, to my recollection of the events, we unscrewed a hatch and climbed into the ventilation shaft. Then made our way to the kitchen, climbed out, found the cupcakes, and returned to our bunk room before anyone knew we were missing.
Davies explains.
We got caught out the next day, and would you like to have the honors of revealing what we missed, Mills? Or more likely, what you missed?
Davies says.
They found a crumb under my bed while they searched for the culprit.
Mills replied. Well, what happened next? Alexis asks frantically.
Story for another time. Shall we?
Mills asks Davies.
Oh, all right. Let's mobilize a strike team and go inside. But I don't think we are going to get into the ship. It's sealed tight.
Davies replies, reluctantly.
Don't worry, we brought mini generators. We'll soon have those doors open. And that doesn't work, we'll just have to knock.
Mills jokes. Oh no you don't, you're not going to leave me on a cliffhanger, Alexis shouts.
Alexis, that's the reason we got put on this bore-fest of an assignment.
Mills explains. After 30 minutes of handpicking a team of 4 for both sergeants, they move into the crash site. Each squad is equipped with 3 Marines and 1 engineer. Alexis will be staying outside to maintain control in the forward base next to the quarantine crash site. They move towards an opening in the ship's debris. The engineers begin working the generators on the bulkhead door. After a while of powering up the door, it automatically starts opening slowly with ancient creaking sounds like the ship was hundreds of years old.
After you.
Miller says towards Davies. He walks inside the room and everyone soon follows suit.
Men, activate your flashlights.
As Davies spoke, the outer doors close in and slam shut. The room starts pressurizing and a voice says,
Pressurizing in progress. Please stand by.
Looks like we won't be needing those generators.
Miller says.
How do we get out of here then?
Davies asks. As he had asked, the ship had subtly answered as a dim, flickering light on the door had activated.
That's odd.
Davies says. He touches the light as he says.
Seems to be some sort of interface.
As he touched the door's interface, it let out a screeching noise as it opened. The Marines coughed and gagged at what smell had just entered the decontamination room.
It smells like rotting meat and shit in here. I got a bad vibe about this, Mills.
Davies says.
Probably something to do with the burnt gases as the ship erupted into flames.
Mills says as he shrugs off any concerns. They continue onward when they see a set of maps.
Ship map schematics?
Mills says. Davies replies.
We should split up, cover more ground. We'll go to the bridge, find out what happened here, and why they came to Avernus.
Mills replies.
We'll head down to engineering, see if there's anything of interest.
Mills opens up the doors to go towards engineering and takes his squad with him. Davies goes towards an elevator and orders his men to join him to the bridge. As the elevator goes up, one of the Marines asks,
Weird, isn't this? Like there's no sound or anything. It's too quiet.
Davies replies.
I was thinking the same. This feels like we aren't welcome here, or we are intruding on something ancient.
The elevator reaches the bridge communications center, which was 5 minutes around the corner from the main bridge, captain's private quarters, and captain's nest. The doors slowly slide open with a stronger scent assaulting them. They exit the elevator and one of his Marines slips over. He feels the floor with his hand. Almost feels like it's moving. It has a lukewarm temperature and has a slime to it almost like mucus.
Marine, are you alright?
Davies shouts. The Marine starts freaking out and shouts,
What the hell is this stuff?
He starts shining his flashlight at the floor. Davies quickly steps out of the elevator onto the sponge, slippery floor, while another Marine carefully moves towards the shooken Marine on the floor and tries to calm him down. Davies calls out to Mills on the radio.
Mills, be careful. One of my Marines just found a strange, organic material coating the floors near the bridge. Over.
Radio static plays. But then...
Yeah, we've seen quite a lot down here in the flight lounge. There's blood all over the walls. As if they were redecorating in here. It's everywhere. I'll call you in 5. Mills out.
The radio goes back to static, and Davies tells his men to get a hold of themselves and to move out. They move slowly over the slippery ground and further into the darkness with only their flashlights and glow sticks to light their way. They come up to an empty dark hallway when Davies hears someone crying.
Men, await further instructions. If I'm not back in 10 minutes, continue without me. I'm putting Kelly in charge of you all until my return.
Davies travels through the corridor while holding his assault rifle, aiming at anything within the darkness, until he hears crying once again, but louder this time, as if it was calling to him like a siren call. 5 minutes of endless wandering occur, until he walks around a corner and sees something or someone. He hears a noise behind him. It sounds like some gurgling. He quickly turns around, pointing his gun at nothing. just the darkness and the light illuminating the corridor from his gun. He then turns back to the thing he saw, but to his surprise, it was gone. He hears shouting and gunfire, followed by screaming. He leaps into action, running back to his squad. 5 minutes earlier, the Marines watch as the sergeant walks into the darkness and his footsteps grow quieter and quieter. The Marines hear a thundering sound coming from above them, in the vents. They all point their guns to the ceiling, and as they do, the thundering from inside the vents disappears. "Alright men, calm down. It's probably just air moving through the ship," Kelly says. A Marine keeps his eye on the watch. The engineer starts hearing whispering in his ear. He quickly turns to see what it was, but then when he does, he's just met with the cold blanket of the dark halls of the bridge. 4 minutes later, they hear footsteps in quick succession, getting louder and louder. They point their weapons towards the noise. It's coming from the direction the sergeant went. The Marines fear the worst, that something has killed him and is coming for them. They turn their safeties off, and then Davies jumps out of the corridor to the squad, pointing his weapon at them, expecting to see a firefight. He just sees a group of Marines looking back at him with their guns ready to fire. Puzzled, he lowers his weapon and says,
I thought something had happened. What's happening to you?
Kelly replies, "Nothing has happened. We heard some noises coming from the vents, but nothing came of it. What are your orders, sir? Why did you leave us, sir?"
I thought I heard something and saw something, but it was nothing.
Davies replies,
Let's move out, find the control room, and put some light on what's going on here. Marines, move out.
The Marines switch their weapon safeties back on and start following what seems like their fearless leader into the unknown once again. While walking, they notice another door. They open it, and it quickly slides open, unlike the other doors, which had at the start of the men. They found the main bridge area. They walk inside, seeing a body on the floor. It was a middle-aged man. He seemed to be nearing his 50s, with brown, greyish hair. They check him out to see that he has a broken leg. This check for any life signs like a pulse, but they couldn't find any. A Marine asks,
What's that on his back?
It was a long and glass-like material with some bulbs running inside as if to light up for some reason.
Probably just some cosmetics or something. Alright, I'm going to head over there.
Davies says and points to the door that reads Captain's Private Quarters.
Kelly, you're in charge again. Report to me if anything happens. I want you to take the engineer to the captain's nest. See if you can get some power to these lights.
She confirms the orders and moves out.
Were we then chopped shit?
The 2 remaining Marines joke.
Secure the area and keep watch. If something happens, sound the alarm. There's more to this ship than meets the eye.
Davies orders. Davies heads into the captain's quarters to see that it has remained untouched. Bed is tidy, no mess or blood on the walls, and the organic floor isn't present here. He takes his flashlight off his assault rifle, attaching it onto his back. He starts going through the room to find out what they were doing here, until he comes across a text log and a video log. He starts reading the text log, revealing their mission in great detail. As a warning in case they failed, and to anyone who reads the message. It reads, My name is David Ito. We have been assigned one of the most honorable quests in the entire universe. Imprisoning a marker on Varvis 51, never to be seen from again, hopefully. I am nervous about this mission. I have seen the harm this obelisk can do, the carnage, the deaths this thing is capable of bringing. We can never allow this to happen again. Davies thinks to himself.
This old fool is off his nut. A rock. Killing people.
He continues reading until it says, If we should happen to fail, and the ship is destroyed, or worse, captured by the unitologists, the marker cannot be near any dead corpses, otherwise it's the end to everything we hold dear. They kill, assimilate, and then the assimilated corpses rise again, killing more, restarting the cycle. The marker can also give off a signal not only to control the necromorphs, but to give dementia to living people, creating hallucinations and paranoia and using memories of loved ones to further his gains, the text log ends. Davies plays the video log, starting to fear the worst for himself and the rest of his team. The video log shows the marker transforming a test subject into a necromorph of some kind. The voice from the video says, "These are necromorphs, sort of undead reconstruction that the marker uses corpses to morph into a nightmarish creature. Though the end goal of this remains unclear, if they are to have a successful outbreak, they could become an unstoppable force. Destroy the marker if the outbreak has occurred, or even before it can. It must be destroyed to deanimate the fallen or corpses. Another way of killing the necromorphs is to cut off their limbs, every limb, including the head. Otherwise it will just keep coming and coming until there is no other standing." The video log ends with a necromorph smashing through the glass the camera was pointed at. As Davies closes the video, the lights lit up. Kelly and the engineer must have been successful. He then hears static coming in from his radio. He picks it up and says,
Mills. Come in, Mills. I've found a very disturbing truth about this place. We need to get out of here. Now.
The radio plays static, but within the static Davies can hear gunfire, screaming, and other ungodly noises. Davies bursts out the room, back onto the bridge, ordering his marines to retreat back to the elevator. Kelly and the engineer soon follows Davies back to the elevator, but in a hurry. Kelly asks, "What's wrong, sir?"
Mills and his team are under attack from something in the ship.
Davies replies. They make it back to the elevator in record time. They head inside and make their way back to the area they found the maps. Once there, they make their way to the engineering deck to find that the corridors have been twisted and reshaped into a mangled mess. Most likely from the crash, it would seem. They make their way through the ship and into another elevator. It was a longer ride than the one to the bridge, adding to Davies' anxiety levels. The doors slide open, and what they see in the flight lounge truly horrifies them. Arms, legs, hair, and blood plaster the walls, floor, and ceiling as if a wild animal had ripped through the crew. Davies informs his team to retreat to the quarantine base. The squad is in full protest, but Davies points his gun at them and says,
I insist you do as you are told, or I'll shoot you here, right now.
Kelly looks into his gaze with fire almost burning through them. Kelly says, Good luck to you, sir, in a startled voice. They fall back to an elevator. The door to the flight lounge soon closes, leaving Davies alone. He knew he did the right thing and knew how stupid he had been to go along with this whole thing. Pulls up his assault rifle and follows the map to the engineering deck. Once the Marines had gone back into the elevator and pressed the button on the interface to go back down, the elevator suddenly shuddered and came to a halt as if something had just grabbed it, as there were no screeching sounds, just complete silence. Kelly reluctantly opens the vents to see what the problem was, and it was just as it was in the corridors, just dark muskiness. She asks for a leg up from the other Marines. She reaches to the darkness, pulling herself out of the elevator. As she did though, she felt something warm wrap itself around her wrists. She tried to see what was on her, but then she saw elevator cable had been torn in two. Pondering for a sec to why the elevator had not fallen, she suddenly felt a rush of air from below her, as she heard the Marines screaming but rapidly fading as if they were running away from something. She looked down to see the elevator had disappeared. She then reluctantly looked up to see why she hadn't fallen with the Marines, to see a huge tentacle out of the darkness illuminated by the shaft emergency lights. Once it felt like it had a foothold on her, it swiftly pulled her back to wherever it came from, into the darkness. All that could be heard in the shaft was Kelly's screams as they too faded out. Sometime later, Davies arrives in the engineering deck while looking at his waypoint following Mill's path. When he sees blood all over the floor, it looked fresh. Davies thinks to himself as he moves through the ship.
So much blood, but no bodies. Could the captain be telling the truth about this? I hope this is just one bad dream.
While moving, he hears faint screaming and other faint noises. He comes across a big door within blood. It reads, "Leave us be." Davies says,
Fuck you.
He opens the door, only seeing a marine cam on the floor. He picks it up. He doesn't see anyone else or anything else around, so he takes the memory cell out and places it in the video log player. To his surprise, it works. Even if it is a little bit low quality, it could prove to be an efficient clue as to where Mills could be. Davies says as the video plays.
Don't worry, brother. I'm not leaving you here.
Meanwhile, outside, a few pelicans and a couple of hornets have arrived. One of the pelicans flies down to the base while the others circle the crash site with the hornets. As the pelican lands, Alexis and the other sergeants meet in front of the doors. The doors slowly open up, creating a ramp, revealing Commander Mills aboard. He walks down as he approaches the sergeants. Alexis shouts, "Commander on deck!" The commander says,
At ease. Although I do have one question. Where is Sergeant Mills and Davies?
He gives a stern look to them, as they each tell him they have no idea where they have scurried off to.
We'll investigate into their disappearance later, after we get some readings, and investigate into what this ship is, and what faction it belongs to. We don't want to start another war by accident.
The commander says in a slightly disappointed tone of voice. Alexis thinks to herself, where are you two?